for the last couple days, for the last couple years in this country. And so we're gathering here as faith leaders, standing hand in hand to show our community that we do care, that each and every one who's in this country, our life does matter. And those who are young, who are black, those who are older, who are black, our lives matter. And so we are here standing in solidarity in support of that cause, calling for justice in this country. And I want to thank you as a Seventh-day Adventist Church to be part of this call. And for our president of this conference, this Oregon Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, here this afternoon there is a call for justice and a cry, and our cries have not gone unheard. For those who are here under the sound of my voice, I want to say that our cries have not gone unheard. And we thank you for joining us here this afternoon to know that truly black lives do matter.
Yes.
So I'm calling upon my president, our leader, who is passionate, who is here, who is caring and loving, who also upholds the fact that our lives matter. And I'm calling upon Pastor Linroot, who would please share with us this afternoon on his experience.
Thank you.
Well, let's just first of all acknowledge that none of us ever wanted to be here right now, because we didn't want what exists in our nation to exist today.
Right.
Several hundred years later. We didn't want the loss of another precious life because we haven't learned our lessons as a nation, or because we haven't learned how authority can also work justly and peacefully in keeping the peace. Not all authority, but enough that this keeps happening. And so that's why we're here. We're here because enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
I mean, enough is enough.
Yeah.
That's it. Enough is enough. That's right. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. That's right. It is. You know, as Judeo-Christian believers, those of us who have come and gathered to speak today, we ascribe to the Judeo-Christian scripture, which has a book in it called Micah, written by a prophet, and there's a section there where the book of Micah is speaking to a nation that's gone off the rails, and there is discrimination, and there is prejudice, and there is marginalization, and finally, the God who inspires that book says to the prophet who writes it, enough is enough. That's it, that's all. And there's this seminal little sentence there where he says, listen, I have shown you to do justly.
Yes.
That's why we're out here.
Yes.
Yeah.
To say it's time to do justly as a nation, and it's time in our city and in our region and in our state to ask for our leaders to lead justly.
Yes.
To ask for our officers of the law to perform justly. To ask for churches and faith communities of all sorts to lead justly. And that is what the God who inspired that said. He said, secondly, I want you to love mercy. It's not enough just to do the things that call for justice, but you need to love mercy, and mercy has to show up all the time, every day, every moment, in every interaction.
Yes.
Love mercy. And that's not just like kind of go along with being merciful. That love has a qualitative aspect to it, and that means to actually fully embrace it. I'm all in. I love being merciful to other people.
Yes.
That's what he says he wants. And then thirdly, he says to walk humbly. We can't do those first two things without walking humbly. And we walk humbly with other people. We walk humbly with those who hurt the most and have the most pain. Walking humbly means, I have to say, when I was asked to speak just now today. I really did not want to, because the truth is I feel like I need to be in a greater posture of listening than speaking.
Amen.
I am not the one who has been most pained and most offended and most hurt. I am not the one. I represent a body of people in this country and in this state and in this city who have never experienced what it's like to live and deal with what George Floyd did and what all of our black brothers and sisters, as well as many of our brown brothers and sisters, deal with in America. And so that requires walking humbly, listening, a posture of listening and caring about how other people feel, not rushing to defense, but rather rushing to understand. And then doing that cycle again of justice, mercy, and humility. That's why we're here as a faith community, to say there's a bigger issue at stake than just raising voices and fists in the streets. The issue at stake has to do with changing systems and structures and attitudes and relationships. And that's what we all need to be asking. How can we do that every day, all the time, in every interaction? And so I'm proud to be here with you and just say, let's see change happen and let's be that change.
We're going to give you guys some opportunity to have some actionable, posture as well. But our next speaker is Terry, who is a native of Portland and someone that has served this country. And I'm really excited that he said yes to speaking with us this afternoon, because he loves this city and he loves the people of this city, and that's why we're here today. But also, if you want to share some stories, we'd love for you to do that eventually. But I'm going to invite my brother Terry to come and share. Thanks, everybody.
November 8th, 1961, something happened in the city of Portland, Oregon. My mother was just like some of you here. She made a decision to go against what her church told her to do and to do what she felt was right. And what her church told her to do at that time was that there was going to be a speaker at PSU in Lincoln Hall. And that speaker was no other than Martin Luther King Jr. He spoke right here in this city, November 8th, 1961. And they thought he was an agitator, and they said, do not go if you're black. It's going to cause problems. And so people had to make a conscious decision that either they listened to, whether it was family telling you not to go, whether it was your church structure, like my mom, they were telling her not to go, but they had to make a decision for themselves. Am I going to be on the side of right or wrong? My mom, who is 90 years old now, she looks back at it and she says that was one of the proudest things she ever had happen in her life, that she made that decision to go. And so I just want to thank all of you here for making that decision to stand up for what's truth and what's right. 50 years from now, this is what you're going to remember. That you came out. You're going to be able to tell your grandkids, I came out, I supported change. This is what this is all about. And so as a black African-American man, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. As a person who's born and raised in this city, born up on the hill, I want to say once again, thank you so much for your support. So keep making decisions for right. Keep making decisions that even though my family, my friends may tell me not to do this, but in my heart, I know what's right. And that's how change is going to be made. By us listening to that little voice inside of us and doing what that little voice says. So we're going to do something radical right now. What I'm going to invite you to do, we're going to go out and we're going to spread out, and I want us to kneel for 8 minutes in honor of those who lost their lives. And I can tell you stories of people right here in this city, African Americans, who were shot on what they call Martin Luther King Street now, used to be Union Avenue, who were shot in their back right in our very city here. And so for these 8 minutes that we're going to kneel, it's going to be in honor of all the people who have lost their lives. And so if you would follow me at this time, and let's just spread out through here, and we'll start clapping when the 8 minutes are over with.
We're live on Sharon social media accounts. We should have them actually. They flat down. So, yeah.
Let's all kneel if we can at this time. And we'll let you know when the 8 minutes are over with. so bad.
Head back.
Folks, can you imagine? Can you imagine what that would have been like if you were lying face down with knees on your neck? That's why we're here, to talk about the injustices that still exist in this country. We pray that you will never forget the names of those individuals who have died because of those injustices and because of racism that still exists in this country. Remember the name of George Floyd.
Yes.
Don't forget his name. But that could have been any one of us. And so today we stand with those families who are grieving, with those who have lost their lives, calling for justice and equality and equity in this country. Thank you so much. We'll gather a little while just back on that side, and we'll close up today with a few announcements from our leader here.
Black Lives Matter. 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 Black Lives Matter.
You want to come? Thank you, everybody. We're going to just keep chanting, but I'm going to ask my friend Reginald to come and share. Thanks, guys.
So, one thing I wanted to share with you guys today, first, as I'm seeing a lot of young people, and because I'm so honored to be a pastor in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, this is something that is amazing. This is something that I'm seeing. I'm seeing Adventist pastoral leadership speaking out for change. One of the greatest social justice warriors this world has ever seen was named Jesus Christ.
Right.
People who do not believe that to be the case, may I direct your attention to his miracles and the fact that he cared about the least of these. Imagine about how to get home safe. At 13 years old, if you're an African American male, you're told be overly accommodating to law enforcement, regardless of how much they may infringe on your rights, because if you don't, it will be legal. Imagine by the age of 16 and 15, when you're getting ready to get your driver permit and you're getting ready to get your license, then you're revealed that all of a sudden, it's not just how to engage and be safe if the police were to ask for identification. Now, your driving while black is now a crime. Imagine the fear. Imagine the anguish. Perfect. Thank you. Imagine the frustration you may face. Imagine the worry you may have when you're driving to church on a beautiful day, going the speed limit, doing nothing wrong, but simply going about your business, and then you're stopped for no other reason than the color of your skin. See, some people will think that doesn't, oh, how do you know you were stopped because you were black? The truth is, I don't know, but what I do know, there are people who absolutely do not want to see African Americans and others come together, because unity is the most dangerous thing when God's people, anyone who carries, since we are all created in the image of God, we all carry something called the imago Dei, which is the image of God. If we carry that, that means that you're special. No matter what the color of your skin, no matter what you believe, you are special in the eyes of God. And the part that frustrates me as a young African American man, yesterday was my birthday, but I could not celebrate my birthday, because if I celebrate my birthday today, one day, or even at the moment where I could celebrate it, a black man in America could be killed. A lot of you guys may not know this, but on Sunday in Portland, Oregon, a Gresham police officer killed a black man.
Come on.
It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. Always had. You are
Until
absolutely right.
now.
And we're gonna stop it because leaders. See, here's the crazy part. Here's the crazy part. This is something we're seeing.
Yeah.
I know we have leadership of one of the most amazing youth camps in the country. Big Lake leadership are here.
Woo!
I see leaders of one of the best denominations are here. Our president, Dan Linru's here. We have leadership that are chaplains and leaders in a hospital network. The best one in the country. Adventist health systems are here. Here's the thing.
We are leaders right here.
All of us are leaders when we raise our voice. And the last thing I want to say, would it be a shame if we claim to believe in something greater than ourselves, when the giver of the Imago Dei shows up to return us back to his kingdom, we don't go because we did not stand up against the leaders, against the individuals who would wish to destroy the minority, the least of these, the outcast, the homeless, the poor, the gentrified, all of these things. Our voice has to be raised because it is not just a social issue. It's not just an economic issue. It is an issue of the human heart. So to prevent from this ever happening again, it is so simple. Take a moment in your communities, in your homes. Do you understand what privilege looks like? It's not just I can go into a Starbucks and it's going to be okay. It's not just that I'm going to drive down the road. There are things as simple as, man, I can just feel safe. Safety, driving, jogging, all these things are high-risk activities. I read an article today, and I'll end with this. Comfortability is privilege. If you are comfortable, you have privilege. So now, I'm calling my white brothers and sisters. Use your privilege for good. You can use it. It's okay. We want you to use it. If you use it, it will prevent a black person from losing their lives.
My name is Jamal Williams, and I've been living in Portland all my life. And I'm not affiliated with any church, nor do I have any disrespect for anybody's church affiliation. My heart is beating real fast right now.
That's all right. You're normal.
So it should be. We all shot it.
I'm 50 years old. I go back to when we had a break off right here. 1984 or something like that. All the black kids from Northeast came down here. My family's names are on these bricks right here that y'all are protesting on. This is important because in a minute they're gonna expect you guys to go home and be tired. And there's still a lot more business to do. There's a lot more business after this. This is about what happens to black people in our schools. This is what happens to us in business around here. This is what happens to us who are vested in Northeast Portland, who have been pushed out by the banks. Please know your history about Portland, Oregon. Please know your history. It is important. It is very, very important. Go back and please read your history about the racism in Portland, Oregon, so that you guys can know how it has become more sophisticated just as we have. This is, black people die all the time, y'all. We're not surprised by this. But what we are surprised about is how many of y'all showed up on our behalf. Yeah, we are surprised about that. And I'm gonna tell you something else. There's a lot more other Americans that are surprised. And they are moved. But they will not be further moved until y'all. They hear it from us all the time, right? We got movies, we got rap, we got all that, right? They tired of us hollering, right? They tired of us. But until they won't move until y'all have the intentional conversation after this. Please. Because after this, We still, if we want to have a concert downtown, they said have the Portland precinct down over there. Don't no fights go on or nothing, but we got to come out. We got to look at all of that while everybody else is up here drunk and fighting and stuff like that. Those are real issues to us. Those are real issues to us. And y'all might not see all that kind of stuff. But after this protest is done, those things that go on and have been going on here in the city of Portland, black people have died, y'all, by the police hands, right? And now is our time. I get excited and I raise my voice and I'm not mad.
This protest will always go on. It will not be an end to this. Is not like war when it's
That's
over.
right. We don't feel like that. We
gotta
don't
keep
really
going.
feel like, you know, really, I'm just going to give y'all the raw conversation that black men are having, right? First, we going to say, look at all them white people down there tearing shit up. Pardon my language. We don't appreciate that.
Real talk.
We don't appreciate that at all. We don't appreciate it. If it was just black people, if it was, we laugh because we go, if it was just black people, they'd have had them all rounded up. Imagine that. If it was just black people standing down there throwing bricks and stuff at the police, y'all would have seen a whole different thing in Portland, Oregon. You guys would have seen a whole different showdown in Portland, Oregon. So we've had to step back and allow y'all to do that. But now, just as a fellow community member, as a fellow Oregonian who has been here all my life now, I appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. And I'm not going to tell y'all how to do it. And so I'm just going to say, if you will, please have that intentional conversation with that person that you know might be on the edge. Just might be on the edge. I'm going to tell you, like, I work in construction. I'm going to end with this. I work in construction, so I work with all the good old boys that come in from all around our neighboring counties. I work with all of them, and they don't live around people like me, and so they talk like they want to. They don't talk like we know how to talk here in Portland. Right? They say what they want to say. Right? And I've learned some things. Right? And so, I'm just going to say, y'all, do what you can when you can. Thank you.
Can we say thank you once again? You speak truth, brother. You speak truth. Listen, we have some folks here, and one person in particular is one who represents and has been bringing young people to a camp every summer. And this summer, we had to close the camp, but I would like for Pastor Les, if you would please come forward and just share with folks here, because I stand today just thankful that each and every one of you can say truly that someone like me, that my life matters to you. Throughout all of the United States of America, we have individuals who are black, who are white, who are Hispanic, who are standing up and who are saying, in spite of the racism that we're experiencing, that you will take a stand. And we thank you for taking a stand. And this is not over. It will not end, ma'am. It will not end. This will still continue until we see justice. I'm gonna keep saying this. Last night we were out here chanting and screaming for justice. And I'm gonna start by saying this. We want what?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
We want what?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
Now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads. God, as we stand out here, sit out here on this night, we just pray that first and foremost, a fire will be lit in our hearts for our brothers and our sisters, no matter what their background, no matter where they might come from or where they're going. We're people. We're people. And I pray that for each one of us, we will use what we have. As was mentioned earlier, if it's whatever privilege we have, may we use that to do good, to bring justice for those who don't have that same amount of privilege. Because in the end, God, we're your children, every one of us. We have a responsibility to our neighbors, to our communities, to our children, to not just walk looking out for ourselves, but to walk with an eye out for the other constantly, and to stop the divisive language that we so often engage in as a hobby. May we fight together by your grace, humbly seeking justice for all. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Hello? Oh. So thank you everybody for coming. I know that a lot of you are here, are going to stay on and march. And I know that some of you here are here with your kids and you may choose to go home. But there are pastors that are going to be amongst the march today. We're going to be praying through the night and we're going to bring about some change somehow, even if it is in conversations. And so I invite you to share with each other, share stories, listen in, lean in, and thank you so much for being here. Enough is enough, people. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Blessings, everybody, and thank you again for coming out. Keep marching. Keep marching.
I'm not even sure who's phone.
Sam, how are things going at the hospital now?
You know, it's the census is waxing and waning, and so right now, is this one yours? I wasn't sure.